We can use SQL inside Python, but we need to be aware of risks such as SQL injection. Watch this video to know how to connect to an SQLite database, run SQL code within Python, and also use bind variables to help protect your data. Now, our application must be able to do many things that we wish to do to use our data. So imagine if we create an order. Now that involves quite a bit of work, including accessing data in a database. So for example, we want to see the menu and choose certain items from the menu. So let's start off with writing the SQL for that. We want to see all of our items on our menu. We can just use select all from items. And if we run that, you can see we've got all of our food items. Now, we probably don't want to see absolutely everything every time we're looking. So we might start off with, we put the food in order, or select a type of food. Maybe we just want to see drinks. So we can use where food type equals drinks, or maybe desserts. We can use that in the where clause. So let's run this and you can see we've got all the desserts. Another way we could use is use in or not in. So for example, all the main food items are not drinks and desserts. So if our food item is not in one of them two, we just need to remember the second quote. You can see here now we've got all of our main food types by saying we don't want the drinks or desserts. Alternatively, let's say we want to see all the rice dishes and all the curry dishes. We could just use the in, select rice and curries, and now we've got the curries and rice. Depending how we want to view them, we probably put them in order. So let's say we want to just have the alphabetical order. We can just say order by food. Or if we want to see perhaps the curries first and then the rice, then we could use order by order type first, then order by food. So alphabetical order within the food type. Now let's use the SQL inside Python. So here's a simple code to connect to our SQLite database, and here we're going to run our select all from items within Python. So we execute the SQL, and then for each row we can print the row. So that selects all of our items. So we can use the SQL code we've already written and now put that inside our Python. So an easy way to do this is just to copy and paste the function and then change the function to the SQL that we want to execute. So for example, we want to see perhaps all of the drinks and all of the desserts. So let's copy our code to start off with. So copy our function. Now we need to change the name of the function. So let's say we want to see all the drinks. We can change that to get all drinks. Now the SQL code we've written previously, so we have the same Python code, except now we've included the different SQL code where food item equals drinks and ordered by food. So now we just need to call the functions get all drinks, change the name where we call it, and now when we run that you can see that we've got all of the drinks. So now we've got a function to get all of the items and now a function to get all of the drinks. So you can see here we can start creating functions that allow us to get the data from our database. So when someone wants to see the menu, we can choose all of the drinks, all the desserts, all of the food items, etc. Remember, we can just copy and paste our function. Here we're just changing drinks to dessert. And let's run that to check our code. And That looks okay. So instead of drinks, when we run that, now we've got all our desserts. So you can see that we can create as many functions as we like, and then we build our application up with these functions, and then we'll create a menu system. So here is our code for the desserts and the drink. Now, also, what else did we look for? We looked for the main food items. So again, we create another function. Here, we're going to call this get all meals. And here we're going to use where food type in or not in. So we had desserts and drinks. So if we say our food item is not a drink or a dessert, then that will select all of the main food meals. So we can use in or not in to select the data. So we can run that with get all meals. We call the function. Let's run that, and we should be able to see all of our food items. You can see here there's quite a lot. So now we can access the data for our menu. Now, what about variables? So far we've only run SQL code inside Python. What happens if we want to get something from the user? Like say when we want to enter an order, let's say maybe we want to choose which food item we want to see. So let's imagine we want to choose rice. We could change it to curry, we can change it to something else, but we want to pass the variable food to the function. So again, we can create a new function. Let's copy and paste, it's the easiest way. And now we want to change that to get food. Now we need to pass the database object and the variable food, which at this moment in time is rice, and we're just going to call that f in the function. Now the first way you learn how to put SQL in Python, you do it this method. It's not the best method, but it's the way that's taught at university. So now in our SQL code, instead of having the word drinks, we want to add the string, which is our food string, which we've called the variable f. So we've got the SQL statement as a string, then we add the variable, in this case f, and then we add the rest of the SQL statement. Be careful of those single double quotes, quite difficult. But a food type is in double quotes, so our full string will have those double quotes in it. So all of the code is in single quotes, and we've added 3 strings together, so that now we can select our rice dishes. So that's a little bit confusing the first time you do it, but you do get used to it. Let's just try, let's run that again, and we can see we've got our rice dishes. And now if we want to change it, we could change it to drinks or anything else that we like in our food types. So that way we've only written one function, and the user can choose what food type they want to see. Now this is a slight problem. Apart from just being confusing, it's not very safe, and this is prone to SQL injection, and there's a better way. So let's use bind variables. So we start off, we have our variable food and we pass it to our function, but what we need to do is we need to use a bind variable. So now we can say food type equals and put a question mark, and now put our variable after our SQL statement. So when we run this, it runs the same, but this is not dangerous when it comes to SQL injection. SQL injection will not work with a bind variable. So we can increase our variable use, for example, let's say we want to enter 2 food items and say food type in, either curry or rice, so as we did before. So now we can pass the 2 variables, and in our code we can use food type in, and then we've got 2 question marks. We're using brackets, so we've got the 2 food items in the brackets, the same with in our SQL where statement, and then we put both variables in brackets after our SQL statement. So those are the bind variables. So when we run this, you'll be able to see that we can find items that are either curry or rice. So that's worked and it's safe. So SQL injection will not work on that Python code. So that's how we've introduced bind variables into our code. So we can see here we've got our SQL statement, and we've used the bind variables, the position, the place, we put the question marks, and then the bind variables at the end of the statement. So here's a very good example of where we used 2 bind variables. How about finding existing data? Let's say, for example, we want to find a customer and we don't really know their name, or we're not sure if we can put it into our database and be completely correct. So in our SQL statement, first of all, we might select all the customers, or maybe we might use a like. Let's say we know their first name begins with S. So we can write our SQL using a wildcard, the letter S, then the wildcard, and then we can order by first name. So when we run this, first of all, let's change the function name. Let's say get customer. So let's get customer and call that function, pass the object. So we're going to see the customers whose first name begins with S. So we have 2 customers called Sarah and Sean. So we found them using our SQL statement with like and a wildcard. Now, what happens if we want to enter the letter? We don't know what their name is. Let's say we're going to enter any letter, A, B, C, D, etc. And we want our Python code to find the customers beginning with that letter. So you could use this on the food items, for example, the same SQL, but here we're just trying to find the customer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the wildcard to the first letter outside our SQL. Then we're going to use the bind variables like before, and this way, this is a safer code than using the alternative method. So we put our letter in, our bind variable, and now we can run our code using the letter plus the wildcard together, and hopefully when we run this we should see the same output. There we go. So we've used a letter from the user. The user can enter the letter. Now maybe we don't even know if it's their first name or last name begins with S. So we can change our statement. So not just have the first name like and then begin with S, but maybe the last name as well. So if it's the same letter, we can just add another question mark. So we change our SQL. So we've got like, first name like, and last name like, and then we've got our letter with our wildcard. So this way we'll select all the people that have a name beginning with S, either their first name or their last name. Remember, when you run this, you could try any letter. But here you can see we've got 6 customers. So now we've got the people with their last name beginning with S, first name beginning with S, and we've ordered it as well.